A new theatrical event opens tomorrow in Halifax. It's called The Gift, and it's the product of the creative imaginations of Robert Lamar and Ron Ulrich. And Ron's name's familiar, and maybe because he worked as the artistic director at Neptune Theatre for 8 seasons. Good morning, Ron.
Good morning. Thank you for letting me come on your show.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Tell me about The Gift. What was the idea for this show? Where did it come from?
Robert Lamar, when I was running Neptune Theatre a long time ago, Robert, who was a very inventive individual, I needed some work done on Beauty and the Beast and on cats. And I needed somebody to sort of structure a couple of the special effects. Somebody said, Robert Lamar's the guy to call. So I called Robert, and he was extraordinarily effective at everything he did. So a couple of years ago, I got a phone call from Robert. I left here in 2008 and went to Hamilton to run another theatre company. And when Robert called and said, I've got a great idea. This is just sort of at the tail end of COVID, as COVID was kind of coming down. I've got an idea for a project. What do you think about it? Do you think it's theatre worthy? And the whole idea of the project, I mean, I've always had the question in my tiny mind, is my life the product of a destined series of, I don't know, decisions somewhere, or is it all just random chance? And Robert said, I've got an idea for a show that will explore that concept. And he sent me the idea of the show, and I said, I know exactly how to do this. Let's do a script out of this. Let's make it a show. And so I got very excited, and they let me join the project, and I was very, very happy they did. So 2.5 years later, here we are, and now we've got ready to go up.
Well, you said, it was a tiny brain that took in this, what I call a big questions to explore. How do you bring that to life for audiences? I mean, how will they experience this question, which I think everybody has asked themselves at one time or another, if not continually?
No, it's truth. There are 2 problems with doing a show of this nature. One is that it could be terribly boring. You go, for God's sake, so I have to listen to somebody talking about destiny versus chance all night long? Or do I see a series of extraordinarily exciting events that persuade me that, in fact, everything that we do is destined to occur? And that's what this show has followed. If one is a follower of quantum physics, I mean, the whole idea of everything being destined all the way as far back as the Big Bang is, in fact, a major part of quantum physics. Well, of one school of quantum physics. The other school says, no, nothing, everything is random. One school says, no, everything is predetermined right from the very beginning. It also says that I can go into that for days. I was going to say that all time exists all at once, and we're all just following out a series of events that were laid down at the moment of the Big Bang. And how do you do that, or even touch something that's got that degree of depth in it and make it entertaining, make it interesting, make it exciting? And the answer to that is you get a guy like Robert Lamar, who's a wonderful stage performer, who can really tell you the story of a young man whose life was a little bit difficult, but through the help, guidance, and trust of his grandfather, came to discover that all these things were destined to unfold in front of him, and that this place he exists now is in fact only because it was meant to be.
Is that going to be comforting for some people in the audience who maybe are...
I think it's going to be fun for a lot of people in the audience, because along the way... Now, here's the other part of this show. So how do you do that and make it interesting and make it fun and make it not just some tired old lecture or some tired old...
monologues, right?
A monologue. So it's a one-man show, but I'm not a fan of audience participation. I never have. If I go to the theater, I want to sit back and watch it happen.
Experts.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, when people come in, everyone will be asked, would you like to come up and help in some of the experiments? Because this is a whole show of experiments. We do, with the audience, experiments which will demonstrate quite effectively, in my opinion, that in fact, destiny rules the universe. And so we ask people, would you like to help demonstrate this? People who don't want to don't have to, but they will put their name in a little thing. They will come up onto the stage if they're called, or because all names will be drawn out of a hat. So everything is at random, and we will see how random choice leads to a destined response on almost every one of the experiments that we do live on stage at the church basement.
So your premise is that we are governed by destiny or by chance. And why do you approach it that way instead of the opposite? Is that what you actually believe, or Robert Lamar actually believes?
That we're governed by destiny?
Yeah.
Following the premise of the show, the answer is yes. That's what we believe. That destiny is the ruling state of the universe.
And I gather the sets are quite fabulous as well. Are they, Ron?
This show is being performed in a church basement, a very small space, which they've been so kind and generous to us at St. Andrews. And the set is really mostly furniture and a wall because there's no real space to build a set in there. However, the effects, the props, and everything that you'll see on there was actually built by Steve Turner. He was a props master at Cirque du Soleil. He was, just the year before I came to Neptune, he was the props master at Neptune Theater as well. He went from here to Las Vegas, where he worked as both a performer and then graduated into the tech side of the business. And then he went to Macau. And then Robert called him with this idea, and like so many of us, we just dropped everything we dropped everything we were doing and flew to Halifax to work with Robert on this show.
Almost like you felt it was your destiny.
It is my destiny. It is. Do you know something? That is exactly what every one of us has been saying. And we must have been destined to be here because this is too cool.
But there was some free will in making that choice too, though, right, Ron?
Now, here's the question. Is there free will? And if there is free will destined to go down that path?
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, it is fascinating. These are the big questions that confront us as humans. So
you're absolutely right. I mean, the joy of this show is you're asking this big question, and you're approaching it from a fun perspective, or an enjoyable perspective, and a personal perspective. And
of course, where you are, you probably have a very good vantage point on how the city of Halifax has changed since you lived here and were the director at Neptune. What are you noticing, Ron?
Well, for one thing, I go to the top of the hill and I can't see the water anymore.
Yeah, there is that.
However, the bustle, the energy, the drive, the kinds of activities that are now going on in this town remind me of the big cities of the world that I've lived in, worked in, and I'm blown away by the kind of, entrepreneurship, growth, development, speed, joy that I'm seeing in this town.
I'm glad you're picking up on that. And energy is sort of the theme of our whole conversation today. Yeah. So thanks for being here and bringing us some of yours back to Halifax, Ron.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Ron Ulrich is the writer and director of The Gift.